A desolate stretch of desert stretched endlessly in all directions, a scorching expanse where the relentless sun beat down on a group of travelers. The mirage of an oasis shimmered on the horizon, promising relief to the parched and weary souls who had ventured far from civilization. The group, in search of a hidden archaeological site, soon realized that the desert landscape held secrets that transcended the boundaries of natural order. As the hours passed, the shifting dunes seemed to rearrange themselves, distorting the familiar landmarks that had guided the travelers. Panic set in as the compass needles spun aimlessly, betraying any attempts to navigate the ever-changing sands. The once hopeful whispers of an oasis now became haunting echoes that carried on the wind, taunting the lost wanderers with promises of water that remained elusive. Footprints appeared in the sand, leading in conflicting directions, as if the very desert sought to confound those who dared to trespass its enigmatic depths. An eerie silence descended, broken only by the distant howls of the wind, which seemed to carry the mournful cries of those who had become lost in the desert before. A spectral figure, mirage-like and indistinct, danced on the horizon, leading the travelers astray with a siren's allure. The group stumbled upon an ancient ruin half buried in the sand, its dilapidated walls telling tales of civilizations that had crumbled beneath the unforgiving desert sun. Strange hieroglyphs adorned the ruins, their meaning lost to time, as if the very stones whispered secrets that defied understanding. The temperature fluctuated wildly, oscillating between scorching heat and bone-chilling cold, leaving the travelers disoriented and physically drained. Shadows moved independently of the travelers, taking on shapes that seemed to be ancient guardians, silently observing the lost souls with vacant eyes. In the distance, the sound of haunting laughter echoed, a disconcerting cacophony that reverberated through the travelers' minds. The mirage of an oasis, once distant, now surrounded the group, its shimmering waters mocking their desperate thirst as they discovered it to be nothing more than a cruel illusion. An oppressive haze settled over the travelers, distorting their vision and creating a disorienting dreamscape where reality and hallucination intertwined. The desert, now a labyrinth of illusions, led the group in circles, their attempts to escape only deepening their entanglement in the surreal landscape. Ancient voices seemed to whisper warnings, carried on the wind, as if the very spirits of the desert sought to guide or bewilder the lost wanderers. The travelers' shadows, once familiar companions, elongated into grotesque shapes that danced across the sand, a spectral performance that mirrored their descent into madness. The sun, now a blood-red orb sinking toward the horizon, cast long, ominous shadows that seemed to reach out like skeletal fingers grasping for the souls of the lost. Desperation drove the group to abandon their search for the archaeological site, their only focus now on finding an escape from the desert's otherworldly grasp. A sudden gust of wind carried with it the scent of long-forgotten spices, a fragrance that seemed to permeate the very air with the essence of ancient rituals and secrets. The travelers, physically and mentally drained, stumbled upon a mysterious doorway standing alone in the desert, its origins and purpose obscured by the shifting sands. Hesitant, they crossed the threshold, finding themselves in a surreal realm that defied the laws of nature, a place where time seemed to unravel and rebuild in unpredictable patterns. The desert, once a malevolent force, faded into the background as the travelers navigated this surreal dimension, each step carrying them further away from the haunting illusions of the relentless sands. The doorway, now an ethereal portal, closed behind them, leaving the travelers to wonder if they had escaped the desert's grasp or merely traded one enigma for another. As the group emerged on the outskirts of a bustling city, the memory of the desert lingered, a surreal dreamscape that haunted their every step, leaving them forever changed by the mysteries hidden beneath the shifting sands. In the heart of an ancient, dense forest, a group of hikers ventured off the beaten path, their laughter echoing through the trees. The foliage closed in around them, an oppressive greenery that seemed to swallow the familiar trail they had strayed from. As daylight waned, panic set in, and the realization that they were lost descended like a cold shroud over the group. The forest, once filled with the soothing sounds of nature, now seemed to harbor unseen whispers that stirred the air with an unsettling tension. Each attempt to retrace their steps led them deeper into the labyrinth of twisted trees, their sense of direction becoming a fragile illusion. Shadows danced in the fading light, morphing into indistinct figures that seemed to observe the lost wanderers from the periphery. The once reliable compass now spun erratically, offering no guidance in this maze of ancient trees and shifting shadows. Unseen eyes watched as the group stumbled upon an ancient, moss-covered statue, its eerie visage hinting at the forest's untold secrets. The temperature dropped, and an unnatural chill gripped the lost souls, their breath visible in the crisp air of the encroaching night. With each passing hour, the forest seemed to morph, creating a disorienting landscape that distorted their perceptions. A distant, mournful howl echoed through the trees, sending shivers down the spines of the lost wanderers. Strange symbols adorned the trunks of trees, their meaning indecipherable but evoking a sense of ancient, malevolent power. The once familiar calls of nocturnal creatures became distorted, taking on an otherworldly quality that fueled the group's growing unease. Footsteps echoed in the distance, but no matter how fast they walked, the source of the haunting sounds remained elusive. Exhausted and terrified, the lost hikers stumbled upon an abandoned cabin, its weathered walls bearing witness to the passage of time. The door creaked open, revealing a darkness within that seemed to defy the natural order of things. As they cautiously entered, the air inside the cabin felt thick with the weight of forgotten memories and suppressed horrors. Shadows danced on the walls, forming twisted shapes that seemed to mock the lost souls seeking refuge within the decaying shelter. An old journal lay open on a table, its pages filled with cryptic warnings and tales of those who had vanished without a trace in the same forest. The lost hikers felt an oppressive presence, as if the very walls of the cabin were closing in on them with a malevolent intent. Desperation set in as they realized that the cabin offered no sanctuary, only a brief respite from the encroaching darkness outside. The forest, now shrouded in an impenetrable blackness, seemed to absorb any attempts at communication with the outside world. A distant, anguished wail echoed through the trees, heightening the lost wanderers' sense of isolation and dread. Time lost its meaning as the night stretched on, and the forest became a shifting labyrinth that defied reason. Each step forward felt like a step into the unknown, the trees closing ranks around the lost hikers as if the very forest conspired against them. A spectral glow emerged in the distance, drawing the lost souls toward an ethereal light that flickered like a beacon in the consuming darkness. The light led them to an ancient, overgrown cemetery, tombstones weathered by time and etched with names that spoke of lives lost and forgotten. As the lost hikers stood among the graves, the spectral glow revealed the faces of those who had gone missing in the forest, their silent pleas echoing through the night. The forest, now eerily quiet, seemed to release its grip on the lost souls, allowing them to find a path that led them out of the haunting labyrinth. Emerging from the trees, the lost hikers found themselves on the familiar trail, but the memories of the malevolent forest lingered, haunting their every step. In the heart of a sprawling urban maze, a group of friends embarked on a nighttime exploration of an abandoned asylum, its decaying facade looming like a specter against the city skyline. Armed with flashlights, they navigated the darkened hallways, their laughter echoing through the empty corridors as they brushed off the unsettling chill that hung in the air. The asylum, a relic of a bygone era, seemed to come alive with the whispers of forgotten souls as the friends delved deeper into its labyrinthine halls. Shadows danced on the peeling wallpaper, taking on shapes that seemed to mimic the tortured souls that once sought refuge within the asylum's grim walls. The air grew thick with a sense of foreboding, and the friends noticed that the once clear exit signs now pointed in contradictory directions, leading them into a disorienting maze. A distant sound, reminiscent of muffled cries, reverberated through the asylum, sending a shiver down the spines of the explorers who exchanged uneasy glances. The temperature plummeted as they entered the asylum's long-forgotten patient wards, where rusted beds and tattered restraints told tales of a dark history now obscured by time. Unseen hands seemed to brush against their skin, leaving an unsettling sensation that lingered like a phantom touch as they pressed on through the asylum's haunted halls. A flickering light drew them to a shadowy figure in a tattered hospital gown, standing at the end of a dimly lit corridor, a spectral patient trapped between realms. Panic set in as the friends realized that the exit they sought had vanished, leaving them trapped in the asylum's ever-shifting reality. Distorted reflections and broken mirrors seemed to reveal ghastly figures that mirrored their own, distorting the boundary between the living and the residual echoes of the asylum's tormented past. Unexplained footsteps echoed through the corridors, following the group like a spectral procession that sought to draw them further into the asylum's dark embrace. As they navigated the asylum's winding staircases, each step seemed to lead to a different floor, leaving the friends ensnared in a perpetual loop of ascending and descending. The friends' flashlights flickered, casting erratic shadows that seemed to dance with the ghostly entities that lurked in the corners of their perception. Whispers of forgotten treatments and the anguished cries of patients long gone echoed through the asylum, amplifying the growing sense of dread that enveloped the group. Doors slammed shut with an otherworldly force, trapping the friends in claustrophobic rooms that seemed to warp and contort, distorting their sense of space and time. The friends, now separated by the asylum's malevolent influence, heard each other's voices carried on the wind, distorted and disembodied, heightening their sense of isolation. A ghostly figure, cloaked in the asylum's haunting history, appeared before them, its hollow eyes conveying the anguish of a soul trapped between the realms of the living and the dead. Murmurs of a forgotten experiment, conducted in the darkest corners of the asylum, hinted at a malevolent force that still clung to the decaying structure like a vengeful specter. The friends stumbled upon a room filled with decaying medical records, each document revealing the tragic fates of those who had once sought solace within the asylum's seemingly secure walls. A sudden blackout plunged the asylum into total darkness, leaving the friends disoriented and vulnerable to the unseen entities that now seemed to close in from all sides. The air became charged with an otherworldly energy, and the friends felt an invisible force tugging at their very souls as they struggled to find their way in the pitch-black darkness. An ethereal glow emanated from a flickering candle, revealing a makeshift seance room where the lines between the living and the dead blurred in a macabre dance. The friends, their nerves on edge, witnessed apparitions of asylum staff performing archaic rituals, their chants echoing through the haunted halls like a lament for the forgotten. A blood-curdling scream pierced the air, reverberating through the asylum as the friends realized that the tortured spirits of the past were reliving their final moments in an endless loop. The asylum's oppressive atmosphere reached its zenith, and the friends found themselves at the mercy of the spectral entities that sought to keep them trapped in the asylum's eternal nightmare. As they desperately sought an escape, a ghostly figure emerged, a tormented soul with hollow eyes that bore witness to the horrors of the asylum's dark history. The asylum, now a malevolent entity unto itself, seemed to release its grip as the friends stumbled out into the cold night, their hearts pounding with the weight of the paranormal encounters that forever changed their perception of the abandoned structure.